a common mistake that a lot of people are making when they do try to do
Look
their own.
at you. Good question.
Oh, this is my wheelhouse.
I know this is true. This is
my wheelhouse. I mean, look, we got 3 cameras going. I mean, come on. If I don't come up with a good question on this episode. And welcome to the Riley Black Project. Crystal and John.
Hey.
Happy day after Thanksgiving for our patrons.
Yeah.
And Cyber Monday
for everybody else. You call them general admission.
For the general admission. So if you want that happy Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, join our Patreon.
And go do whatever Black Friday sales I come up with by then.
Yeah.
I don't know them yet.
Black Friday sales.
They're there for all the things.
Right. Be on the lookout for Black Friday sales.
The sponsorship. Do you want me to drop that?
Yeah.
So
this week's episode is sponsored by
Monarch Pine. Use code Riley Black for 10% off Monarch Pine on her Etsy, monarchpine.etsy.com. Thanks. Oh, is it Katie? See, my brain, man. It's already glitching. It's Katie.
We just started.
I know.
Man, this is gonna be a good podcast.
Yep.
She's already glitching. Speaking of a good podcast, let's introduce our guest.
Guests with an S.
Guests.
We have several.
2, yes.
Yeah, 2.
Not
2.
Several. 2.
Whatever.
That garage door popping every time. I'm like, what's that sound? Anyway. So we have today Missa with By Missa.
Hey.
Missa, and Jess with product photography class. How's it going?
Hey. Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're good. It's
hanging in there.
Yeah. It's I think I'm stuffed. I don't know because it's
stuffed.
Because day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, you think you
so
are?
I think I'm still full.
Listen, I'm still making up for that year that I was in the emergency room on Thanksgiving Day.
Getting your gallbladder removed.
Yeah. So we're good now. We removed it. Hopefully. So now
Hopefully we're
good.
Okay. Hopefully we're good.
Don't tell the universe. Leftovers to just last the next few days. Right. Who can ever complain about Thanksgiving leftovers? They're always the best.
Exactly. Right.
Hopefully we have leftovers. We'll see.
Yeah, we're hosting this year. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So, it's all about photography.
It is. I mean, photography it's fucking hard.
For some.
It's for some, yes. So Missa, I adore your pictures and everything. Has it always been is that one of the things that came easy to you, or is this like where you are now kind of thing?
The anxiety about having bad pictures is something that's really easy to me.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. It must be pretty. I have some history in studio photography, so I like to take pictures anyway.
Right.
I look good. But it doesn't sell if it's not pretty. So I've always been hyper focused on making it pretty. I enjoy solving that problem.
Yeah.
And so it's always been a focus of mine. And also like sharing with others that it doesn't have to be so hard, or to to get over our judgments that it's I'm bad at this.
Me,
because it's like most art, I also like to paint too, so it's kind of like art. We kind of think that we're bad at it,
right?
And so that manifests. And so we can do this.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm already fucking up.
And I'm gonna be right back.
Why?
I'm gonna make sure Skelly's still up because I heard some.
What was that?
I don't know, but I'm gonna make sure skeleton is back up.
Okay.
I'm just gonna make sure he's still up.
Okay.
I'm just going.
I'll
continue.
Okay. It's a little stormy here right now, like just rain and a little bit of wind, but I don't think that was him. I hope it wasn't him.
Who's skeleton? Is it decoration?
We have a 12-foot skeleton from Home Depot, and
of course.
Yes. So we put a Santa hat on him, and he's now a Christmas decoration.
Yeah, I like it. The Christmas skeleton.
He was too expensive just for one holiday.
He really was. And our kids are obsessed with him, which makes me happy because then it's a good excuse for me spending that money. But yeah, every day I get home with our 2-year-old and I'm literally dragging him inside because he's looking at the skeleton saying eyes, eyes, because it has like cool LED eyes that blink. And so he's just eyes, eyes, and he's literally mesmerized by the eyes. And he's like, ooh, scary. And I'm like, okay, so scary. Can we get in the house? Like,
It's every day, kid. Every day.
right? I'm like, he's there all the time. He's gonna be so sad when he's gone.
Yep. Where's eyes?
Right.
Bye-bye.
The bunny ears on him. I mean,
Oh, listen, I mean, don't, yeah. Our neighbors currently like us, and they did give us like a thumbs up on like the holiday, the Christmas change that we did with the skeleton. So I don't know if we'll be pushing it with some bunny ears, but
see how long you keep it going. 4th of July comes, you hold the flag.
Yeah, leprechaun. I think it'd be tight. It'd be good.
Yeah, I'm here for it. So we'll see if they are.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than Crazy Laser Dad Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high-quality blanks are expertly sourced, tested, and ready to use with your lasers. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for all your customers.
So, what are you waiting for? Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their laser-ready blanks.
Speaking of all things laser, check out Houston Acrylic at houstonacrylic.com for reliable laser-tested and laser-approved materials.
Made for makers by makers, Houston Acrylic features over 450 styles of acrylic sheets. With over 50 new arrivals being released this month, Houston Acrylic is committed to bringing new and innovative styles to the laser community. My personal favorite is the matte, anything matte, and I feel it's perfect for everything.
Don't forget to save 10% by using our exclusive coupon code TRBP10 at checkout. Get inspired today and visit houstonacrylic.com.
Do it.
So, Jess, what is some of your background? Like, how did you get into, what you're doing now?
I have always been into photography ever since I was very young, like maybe even like 12 years old. I would always play with my dad's camera. And then when I went to high school, we had a film photography class. So like I messed with that.
I had one. I went into like a dark room and like I
yes.
negatives and all
that.
It
is. I don't do film photography anymore just because it is so expensive and it's just it's so hard to get the things for it. But it was such a fun thing, and it truly did help me learn a lot about photography. Just because you have like that is a situation like we were so spoiled with like digital stuff because there's so much you can do with Photoshop and editing and stuff that when you're doing film, you have to perfect it.
Well, in film, like
so
even
I always dabbled in photography.
Yeah.
And when I was probably around like 18 years old, I remember going to stores and looking at like, the advertising photos of like items and stuff or like clothing and everything. And I thought like, man, I would really like to do that type of photography, but I didn't try. I ended up just going into like portrait photography. I did like commercial photography for like big businesses and stuff. I eventually ended up going to wedding photography, as most people who do photography go into it.
Right.
COVID happened. The world went on fire and everything was just absolutely chaos.
Yeah.
I had about like 2 years worth of bookings all have to get pushed or canceled. I had to like refund a bunch of people and it wasn't their fault that they decided to not get married anymore, but it also wasn't my fault. So it's just kind of like what is just like the optimal best choice to kind of like help for each other.
Right.
So probably not the smartest business choice for me to just like do what was best for my clients, but that's just always been the type of person I am, is always being very helpful. And then I remember just like scrolling on random like internet stuff. And I think I was maybe just scrolling on like Instagram and I got an ad for replica surfaces. And I thought, man, these things look really cool.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, like I can't leave the house. I can't go take pictures of people. I can't do anything. I've always wanted to try product photography. Like maybe this is the perfect time.
Yeah.
So I bought a couple things from like Amazon and they were absolutely horrible. They were horrible. I bought them, I tried using them, and I just felt bad. And I'm someone who has been doing photography since I was 16.
Right.
I'm 33 now, so
Yeah.
not good at math, but it has been well more than 10 years.
Right.
So for me to take pictures and for them to just look bad, I felt really bad. Like I shouldn't be this bad at this. I have so much history of photography. And then I thought, like, there's no way it's just the backgrounds, right? There's no way that these roll-up backgrounds for Amazon were that bad. It has to be me doing something. And I figured, you know what?
No,
I'm going to purchase some replica surfaces because they look really good and all of the photos with them look good. And I did join their Facebook group and they had such this like positive community. I joined it, I purchased services, and then I just immediately fell in love with them. It was a huge night and day difference. And the second thing that was a huge difference is actually my light that's next to me. I bought this along with the surfaces and it made a huge difference, which is something that I'll talk about later is, you know, key important things that do make a massive difference in photography. And then with doing replica surfaces, I was just a normal customer at first. They would post these like challenges where it was like they would try to say like, hey, shoot something with citrus, shoot something that is dark and moody, shoot something like this.
That's fun.
And they would tie them to like YouTube videos. So it would have this little challenge and you could watch a YouTube video to get inspired from. And I loved it. And I attribute a lot of my talent to doing these challenges. And that's another thing that I'll talk about later. But one of the main things that really helped me improve, especially with product photography, because like I said in the beginning, when I first started, my photos I wasn't happy with what they were looking like. Right. But literally shooting photos every single day has made a massive difference. Even still today, if I look at photos that I did a year ago today, I don't even recognize them from how far I've come. And I've been an established product photographer for years now. I've been working for Replica for years, which the whole reason I ended up getting hired for Replica is because I always entered these challenges and people just started to know who I was because I was just like, I thought I was being annoying. I was just always entering the challenges. Everybody knew who I was. People would like reshare my photos and they would know like, oh, that's one of Jess's photos. I would always be in other group chats with other members from the community and would just try to help them out. They would send me photos for me to like edit and kind of teach them like, hey, you should try switching your photo and adding this. And then one day I got an email from Mandy asking if I wanted to do a phone call and they were interested in hiring me. And then the rest is history. I've been with Replica since probably the middle of 2021. And it has definitely been a dream come true. I get all of my surfaces for free and then I get paid to actually shoot all of the surfaces. And on top of it, my whole business is teaching people product photography because in doing all of this, I realized that my favorite part about product photography is helping others improve. And working with Replica, it just goes so nice because when I work with Replica, I try to do like collaborations. I normally do collaborations with my clients or with my Patreon, with my patrons. So if you are a patron of mine, you can get access to being able to mail me stuff and I photograph it. And then I will use some of those items that you sent in my replica photos. Like you can even see I have one of Missa's things right next to me here.
I tried to hire people to do exactly that.
It's my favorite piece. It's my favorite piece that is like always next to me. But, I love helping wherever I can. And everything I do just works together so nicely that with Replica, I get all of these backdrops and then I either use my client stuff or I use my collaboration stuff and I use those products to showcase in my Replica photos. And then I record everything I'm shooting so that I can make video content on breaking down why I styled the way I did, what was my process behind all of that. Sometimes I'll make videos about like, these are the easy mistakes to avoid with product photography. So everything that I do now is all about just product photography and really mainly helping people. So I know that a lot of people had such a bad experience with COVID, and I did have a bad experience with COVID because in one way, it did destroy one of my businesses, but in the other way, it gave me an opportunity to do something that I probably wouldn't have done for I don't know how long.
Did that for a lot
and now
of
it's just like it feels like it was meant to be, and I truly found my calling. And the amount of people and friends I have made along the way has just been incredible. I am so grateful for everyone. It's so funny that this video is being sponsored by Monarch Pine. That is someone I am extremely good friends with. That is someone who is a client.
awesome.
They are one of my patrons. I shoot a bunch of their items. Their items are absolutely
I wondered. I look at her product photography all the time, small little things, which is a lot of what I do now with my one part of my business with the keychain stuff. And I always love, how her pictures look with, like, it makes me want to do earrings, and I have no desire to do.
Me too. She always tells me, like, you can keep whatever you want. And it's like, man, I really want to make earrings. Like, these things look so good.
Yeah.
Hey there, podcast listeners. How great would it feel if this was the year you finally got to escape your 9-to-5 to embrace your lifestyle of creativity and entrepreneurship?
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, Eon Laser USA invites you to join the Freedom to Create webinar, where you'll learn how to make this a reality.
Join leading laser industry professional and brand ambassador Emily, aka That Mom with a Laser, and Eon Laser USA's sales manager Alicia as they dive into all things Eon.
Learn about the advantages of owning an Eon Laser and get the scoop on Eon's rewards and partner benefits. Plus, get a glimpse at how everyday people who started out with zero experience paid off their lasers, scaled their businesses, and transformed their lifestyles.
So if you're ready for a lifestyle change, head over to eonlaser.us/whyus and sign up for the Freedom to Create webinar today.
Thanks for listening. Laser on.
Welcome to the revolution in laser engraving. Introducing Lens Digital, the creators of the game-changing Pyburn rotary attachment. With the Pyburn 4.0, you can turn ordinary cups, tumblers, glasses, and more into extraordinary masterpieces.
Looking to engrave niche items or want the functionality of a Chuck rotary? Look no further than the Pyburn Grip, Lens Digital's Chuck-style rotary. With a range of different sized jaws, you can easily engrave a wide variety of items. All Lens Digital products are compatible with most CO2 and Galvo lasers and were designed specifically for the laser industry. All that paired with the best-in-class customer support, Lens Digital is your one-stop shop for all of your rotary needs.
Transform your laser engraving game with Lens Digital, where makers succeed. Unleash your creativity today.
And don't forget, we are proud Lens Digital affiliates as well. If you're shopping, code Riley Black will take $50 off any order of $600 or more. I'm going to become.
And that is such a good, almost like compliment to, product photos. If you can see a product photo and it makes you think like, man, I want to do that. That is exactly the type of feeling that you want to be doing to people, because you want people to either be inspired by your photos. Or you want people to want to purchase and actually hold your items.
Right. Yeah. I want to put that in my house or whatever. Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So what is one, would you say, that you find in the class is one of like a common mistake that a lot of people are making when they do try to do their own?
Look at you. Good question.
This is my wheelhouse.
I know this is true. This is my
wheelhouse. I mean, look, we got 3 cameras going. I mean, come on, if I don't come up with a good question on this episode.
It's so funny. I get asked so many questions, and majority of them are the same thing. That is the first time someone's ever asked that question, and that is such a good question. I'm trying to think of like, what is like one big thing, or like maybe like 3 like small things. So, what is a common mistake that people make when it comes to kind of like product photography stuff? I would say probably the most simplest one is actually overthinking things and thinking that we need to add more, when shockingly it is such a just like staple of a phrase, but less is more. It is such a common thing that even when I first started doing product photography, I could look at my old stuff and they are so cluttered. I added so much stuff into it. Whereas nowadays I do such a more just kind of like simple look that it makes a huge difference. So the overthinking thing, absolutely. And we all struggle with the overthinking thing. But just sometimes if you are working on stuff, don't feel like you need to keep adding more and more and more and more. You even look at, I think a perfect example is looking at your guys' setup. As soon as we started this, I immediately started just like admiring it. You look at the black shelf and you have this like, you know, each of the items on the shelf have breathing room. There's nothing that is like touching each other or anything. They all have breathing room. So you can visually see each of the items very cleanly. If you added a bunch more stuff to the shelf, you would feel like, well, maybe I should add more. Maybe we should add this one. But that is a perfect thing of less is more. And it's really about just like the way you can almost visualize, am I adding too much, is to look at like what a photographer is called breathing. You want items to be able to breathe. So there is a time where you want to have like, you know, items touch or overlap each other, but there's other times that you want to have a, you know, small little, like even like a tiniest little gap just to let them breathe. But less is more. Try to not overthink. You can try to add things to a scene, or shockingly try to take things away. Something as simple as sometimes I might just do a product and I might just do a houseplant. And that is like a go-to staple of mine that no matter how many times I do it, it looks great. You could just switch out the type of houseplant it is. Sometimes I'll use a vase with pampas. Sometimes I'll use a vase that has like a colored floral in it. And then it could just be something as simple as, if your houseplant is in the back right, just adding something small in the front, and then your product would be kind of like right here.
See, that's where I struggle, is the like, I wasn't the one who added too much, because I've seen the people who try to like stage it too much, and there is too much. So I went the complete opposite, and I'll have like just the thing that's holding up my item and the item, and then it's like too bare. And so I never like, I don't know where to put like that house plant, and what do I put in the front, kind of, you know. So I do the opposite of, I do too little.
And then a perfect thing to almost like think about, and something I've been trying to work on, is making almost like a cheat sheet of just like little go-tos that you can add into photos. So something as simple as, if you have your product in the dead center of the frame, then you always can almost look at the four corners around where your thing is. And you want to either put something, you know, along all three of them, or put them to diagonal. So if you just go by just that, and you just repeat that, that will just carry you all the way. So something as simple as, if you put like a loose piece of greenery in the top right corner, and then you put another one in the bottom left corner, that will make a huge difference.
I've noticed with
Missa, other things that you can do with
she does the, what do you call it? The I don't know, the piece like a towel, or like the staging towels, or whatever they're called.
Right, the styling towels.
One corner.
That's exactly what I'm going to say, is also having universally accepted items. Something that is like talked about a lot is trying to find items that make sense with your product. And sometimes it's really easy. If you're shooting like candles and they're strawberry scented, then you can have strawberries. But if you're shooting, for example, you know, even this that I have behind me, I can't add strawberries with it. There's not a scent to it. So like, you know, what can you add to it? And that is the perfect thing of, you know, you can add two different types of things. You can add universal items, something like styling towel, something like house plants, a vase with something like that. These are just universal. They work with everything, even with like bakery items, earrings, any type of laser cut item. You can use these universal items of styling towels, plants, for anything. And then the other thing you can do, this is like one of probably the most like common questions I get, is with laser items. And what do you style with them? And my personal favorite thing to style with them is try to make them seem almost like a room or a scene. So I do really prioritize using houseplants with them. I almost want it to just look like a corner of a room, or I just want it to almost look like it was sitting on a shelf, and then I have, you know, maybe a houseplant next to it. Maybe you even have just like a tray that has like a phone and your car keys next to it, and maybe it's like a like welcoming thing. But just almost picture like, if this piece was sitting in your house, where would you have it? Would you have it in the living room? What are other items that are in your living room? And really look at like what are smaller items. And you can even just like look at like an IKEA ad and see like how they have like stuff set on shelves and almost to try to replicate like a similar thing to that. But something as simple, if you are worried about adding too much or you already are adding too little, try adding universal items like florals, greenery, styling towels. This is adding a little bit of texture. It's adding a little bit of life. It adds just a little bit that makes a massive difference in it.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Missa?
Well, one thing that really helped me, or one place where I really flubbed a lot at the beginning, is that I tried to do all these different arrangements to last, right? Like I tried to take on a different look for this item, a different look for this item, a different look for this item.
Right.
And what really helped me was just finding something neutral that worked.
Yeah.
And then master it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
They're clean. Like maybe they don't have a certain changing theme that goes with everything, but look good, right?
Yes.
And I felt more confident.
Well, but then you have that consistency too.
Exactly. Brand, you know, I got a lot of feedback early on, like, I just know it's yours, right?
Right.
Like, I didn't even look at the name in the post. I just knew it was yours.
Or the product. Like I can tell, I'll scroll through my feed before I see anything else, and just the photo as a whole, I'll know is Missa's because of like her style of how she styled it. And, you know, and I think one thing that I really struggled with the universal items was figuring out what a universal item is, because so for me, like, you know, again, the ones that the really cool photos are the ones with the candles and the soaps, and where it makes sense because you add in like a physical representation of the scent it is, or what that scent gives you a feeling or whatever. Well, when I'm photographing a keychain or like literally tiny little plastic accessories, it's like, well, shit, like does a towel really make sense? And it can, if you do it right. And so it's just like figuring out what those universal items are for the items that you do, but then also finding like
that is such a great point. Is, you know, when I'm talking about universal items, I'm doing like a broad thing of like, you know, plants and towels work for everything. But that is a perfect example of, you need to also take into consideration what are you shooting and what is something different. So you're bringing up like keychains and stuff. The first thing that comes to mind for me is books. I actually have like a bunch of just like these fake prop books that I use for stuff. And something like books would be great, because almost like, you know, if we're doing like keychains, then we're thinking like two things: either them sitting at home getting ready to be used, so you could use a tray, and you could just put other things kind of with it. You could even do like a wallet, especially if you have like one of those like nice like leather things. So just almost have like a tray of like, you know, and have everything kind of lightly like pushed to the side, so there's a lot of space around the keychain, so it really stays focused on that keychain. And then just add stuff like that. You could also have, you know, a stack of books, have the keychain kind of draped over two books, just add stuff like that. Another thing is, you know, having them for travel. So having them kind of like, you know, outside, kind of messing with maybe just like sitting on the railing of a patio or something with like the background. So it's just like, you know, you're ready to pick them up and go use them and take them to a car.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's the overthinking. It's the not seeing examples, you know, of other people doing it, and just like not knowing where to go. And then also the part of like, I love Missa's photos. At the same time, her style and technique, it's not mine at all. Like I love her photos, but like even down to like the colors and the filters she used, like I went on Pinterest because I was like, I don't even know what my style is, but like I know what I want, but I don't know what it's called, so that I can look for more examples. And I figured out it was like dark and moody. Shocking. That, you know, so I had to look for like, okay, how do I take photos? And then also taking photos with a lot of black is what attracts me, but that also is difficult as well. Like, I'm like, of course, the style I like is not exactly.
Well, and also too, I remember you struggling with. So she was trying to find her like her style, but if you go through her website and you look at all the products, the style is already there. She just doesn't know that it's there. Because it's all, like she's saying, there's a lot of the grays, a lot of blacks, a lot of cool tones as far as the picture is concerned. And she really, really struggled with. We got a bunch of sports keychains.
Yeah.
So she really struggled with those because those look best like in their element, like a soccer ball on a field. Now that is bright. It's a lot of color. It's a lot of
that one really.
It's a lot of bright. And she's like, this doesn't fit my style. And I was like, well, here's the thing. You can have collections because you can have your style, your normal stuff, but like, for instance, your Christmas stuff is going to be a lot of red and green. There's no way around it.
Right.
Because it's Christmas. Anything, if you put it in like Christmas is light, it's airy, it's bright. If you put it in black, and it might work in like a goth setting.
Right.
But it's still a Christmas thing. So you can have, you're not anchored to your style because you can have little collections of other things.
What I figured out in those was I got the one of my customers actually had taken a picture of my like softball keychains on like turf, and I was like, oh my god, that looks amazing. I was like, I have to do that. And then I was like, but shit, it's like green and playful and and sunny, and I was like,
colors. Oh my god.
Shut up. But the way I figured it out was I added a vignette to it, and that gave it like the dark and moody edges, but it was still like, the sports, playful, sunny outside. So like, but it was really frustrating in the moment because like, oh man,
colors.
I don't know what
and lights.
I know.
I am totally the same way. Ever since I even started photography, my style was always dark and moody or like warm and moody. I really like I'm from Baltimore, so I really liked having almost this like urban, grungy, industrial type of just like thing. And I even did it with like my portrait photography, and thankfully, being in Baltimore, a lot of our weddings are actually moody industrial weddings that are like in abandoned buildings and stuff. So I was totally in my prime, but I totally am a massive lover of the dark and moody. That is like my personal favorite type of photography. I don't get many clients that do it. When I do, I am like very ecstatic because it's just like, yes, I completely understand you. But it is totally a challenge. It is one of the hardest things is shooting, dark backgrounds because they get glare. Also, you have to kind of mess between if you're using just like a black background and then you're shooting something that is also dark, it can get lost in it. Right. But just switching that dark background into like a lighter gray, it does kind of change it a lot. So you have to kind of like balance with like, what can you do? And typically what I'll do is I'll just put something underneath my product that just kind of helps it stand up against the background.
Right.
But something that you're saying about like the whole collections thing is exactly. We don't have to be completely married to only one specific style. You can have your universal year-round collection, and that has all of your style. And then when you do, a 4th of July collection and you want to have red, white, and blue, that's totally okay. If you want to do the holiday collection, you're going to do, red and green, gold and silver, stuff like that. That's also totally okay. And just your main staple goes. And then especially like, when you're shooting the soccer one and you have like the turf and you added that vignette, and it kind of helped add that like darkness to it.
Right.
Something that's also really cool is, now this is like a whole different type of conversation, but dark and moody can get very complex in the way that dark and moody doesn't always mean black backgrounds. You can do red and green like Christmas stuff, but make it really dark and moody. I don't have anything with it because I don't have any dark and moody like Christmas people, but I'm totally gonna send you a couple photos that I have saved on Instagram that like I really like the way they look because they are really dark and moody, but they're Christmassy. And it's such a weird like mix because they're still light and they still look very elegant, but they just look so like dark and they're almost just lit like by like candlelight. And it just looks like, man, that looks like really cool.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I'm already like thinking like, what Christmas items do I have that we can retake? Yeah, because I only have I have something. The listings on my Shopify is somewhere but like 300. I mean, obviously there's there's certain items that have like 8 each or 8 different what are they called, variants or whatever. And like I want to retake like all of my pictures, and I overthink it to like I feel like I have to do it all right now. And I really just need to go through and like, oh, okay, if Christmas is coming up, now is when I look at my Christmas items and then I photograph those and I make those how I want them. And then if there's one I want to feature, next week, now is when I take that new photo. I don't have to do it. It's okay if it's a work in progress, but like I'm always an all or nothing person, and it's definitely like one of my like flaws, or like
well, and it could be overwhelming. It could be overwhelming with how many products you have, and wanting to retake all the pictures. Like it's like, well, that's a ton of pictures, and like, what do you do? And then you can take the pictures and hold them back. Like you don't have to like change the listing right away. You can take all the pictures first and then change all the listings at once. Type stuff. So one question I had, just again going back to the beginner, the person who wants to have better pictures, or doesn't feel like they know what they're doing. What kind of camera, because that could be intimidating as well, is camera, all the options and everything. So what kind of camera would you like recommend to a beginner who's wants to get better pictures, but maybe doesn't necessarily see like the value in buying the new Sony A9 that just came out, which
I was like,
that's $5,000 camera. But video. Oh no, but this thing, it's got a global shutter. We'll talk about global shutter later. Amazing.
Well, you have my vote. I actually use both Canon and Sony because I do photo and video. So to my left here, I have the Canon R5, and then to my left, or to my right, I have the Sony A7S III. So that is like my photo and my video, but those are a massive overkill for product photography. I use them for like weddings and commercial work and stuff like that. They are absolutely not needed for product photography at all. I would say, and I need to look up my models, but I personally recommend, and let me see if I can just pull up the actual model number of it. What I recommend is, totally start with like a phone and just kind of get a couple things, though phones are drastically limited. And you also want to understand, what is it about phones that are limited? What is the reason you should use a camera over a phone? Because there are plenty of people that use phones and they do fantastic work.
I can count like maybe on one hand the last 3 years that I pulled out my DSLR. Because just the step of, speaking of overwhelming, right, for me personally, and I think, right, we're all different and we all have to understand what holds us back, and we're really good at getting action. But even like moving the photos from my DSLR to my computer. Like,
do I not tell you that all the time?
Like he
has all these cameras, right? And he's like, well, you could use this camera, that camera, this camera to take the pictures. And I was like, yeah, but then how am I going to get it to my computer and then to my phone? Because I do most of it on my phone. Like I do the editing on my phone. I add the watermark on my phone.
So she's saying there's all these cameras. I only tell her to use one of my cameras.
Okay, but still,
because that one connects to the phone. You can send the picture from the camera to the phone.
It's cool. It's so cool that cameras can do that now. Like it is automatic. It literally, the pictures you take totally get sent to your phone. He is not exaggerating. That is, there are a lot of cameras that actually have that feature. So someone like me, I thrive off of my computer. I live at my computer. So I'm so used to the, importing the things and then doing all my editing here. But if you are someone who uses your phone for everything, that is a fantastic point. There are a lot of cameras that have a feature that they share the photos to your phone and they automatically go into it. And then you can totally just edit them right there.
Did you not know that, Missa?
No. I just have my like Canon 60D or whatever. No, it's like a whole thing. I gotta find a cord. Like, I don't know where a
Oh
cord
yeah,
is.
no, his. I mean, it
No,
doesn't.
So the one I have
You have an app.
is the Canon. So it's the Canon M100.
Okay.
And and I got it because it was like the step up from your cell phone, but it also communicates with your cell phone.
Right.
So you do download the Canon app, and you can use your phone as a remote to take a picture. So if you're taking a group picture,
I forgot it does.
That's cool.
yeah, if you're taking a group picture, you set it on the tripod, you go in the picture, and that way you don't have to do the timer and run over.
Right.
Right, you just check it on your phone. Yeah.
Right.
On
And
the
you
way.
can just click it on your phone and you got it. And then with that app, it shows you what's on the memory card, and then you just download whatever you want. So you can take 5 pictures, choose the best one, and download only one to your phone. So that way you're not overloading your storage on your phone.
Exactly.
Technology.
Here comes the overthinking,
And
in
then-
that I don't know what, like, the settings, the two main settings. I don't know, like,
There's 3, but yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I don't know, like,
So-
does this one need to be like short or long, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It just,
and then also
my
too,
phone, it just
Right.
But so you can get, and we'll get back to Jess's recommendation on the DSLR. But since we're on the phone topic, there are also apps that give you more control over the camera. So you can control things like your shutter speed. You can control things like the aperture and the ISO on the camera. Missa, do you use an app that gives you more control? Or do you just use the regular camera app on the phone?
She's a camera app on the phone.
I also use the camera app on the phone for my stuff. I totally recommend people to get the Lightroom mobile app, and I've heard that you can use the Lightroom mobile app.
We're back. Okay,
You guys
we're
are
back.
back.
It's frozen in such a joke way that I'm like, was that not a good answer?
It was the perfect freeze. It was just like, did she really just say that?
I'm like panic.
Myself, and I was like, they're not reacting. I think that's the wrong answer.
Overthinking too. That we panicked because on our end it was all black, and all 3 cameras were just like spinning, and we're like, and we could hear you for a second, and then we couldn't, and then
luckily, so I thought maybe, so we just got our cable line back up. Our lines aren't underneath, and with all the wind, with the weather issues that we've been having lately. Luckily, I can look out my window here and I can see that our cable line is still up. So it's not the case, it's not the internet down completely. But yeah, that puckered up. Yeah.
Okay, so where were we?
Let me just make sure
that while you were gone, we were talking. So I do just use my phone, and just the regular Apple. Setting. Sometimes I'll go back and forth between portrait mode and not.
Right.
Jess taught me how to zoom. That was a fun trick.
Nice.
But then while you're gone, we were talking about the Lightroom mobile app and how helpful that is, because that is an app that's great for editing. It has a lot of free features in it if you don't want to do the Adobe subscription or upgrade it. So it's got a ton of free features, and you can change your ISO and your speed, your f-stop, whatever.
It also, I haven't messed with it, but I'm pretty sure that the Lightroom mobile app has a camera mode that you can actually take pictures in the Lightroom app. And I think it lets you have a lot of free control.
It does.
And what Missa was talking about is I did a video all about mastering phone product photography. And it is very easy to do the portrait mode. The portrait mode is just kind of like a very quick and easy. You want a quick picture, you can just do it. Sometimes the portrait mode just doesn't work well because it kind of makes it look like really artificial.
Yeah.
And just like blurs the wrong way depending on what you're shooting.
Wrong. Yeah.
So what I personally like to do whenever I'm shooting is the one adjustment I make because I have an iPhone, is I will change the exposure. I will either make it brighter or I will make it darker.
Okay.
That is like a thing that I always do. And then the other thing is I always zoom in. I always zoom in probably at least by 2, if not more. So I might stand a little bit farther back and zoom in. And I totally recommend everyone to try this. Try taking a normal phone that's not portrait. Take a normal photo with your phone and just kind of, if I'm taking a picture of, this, and I have my phone and I'm just kind of like, see my camera like this, and I'm here, go ahead and, zoom in. So take a normal picture how you would, and then zoom in. So you're going to have to back up a tiny little bit and just do that zoom in. Now, this works really good for eye level stuff. So if you're doing flat lay, you don't have to worry about this at all. This is really a eye level thing. But by zooming in, what is happening is you are condensing the distance between your subject and the background. By zooming in, you kind of bring them closer together. And what happens is it gives you a natural bokeh look. And bokeh is the term for blurry background. So you get a actual authentic blurry background from this. So if you ever are doing like the portrait mode and it doesn't look well, and even sometimes like I actually prioritize doing the zooming thing. I just personally like the way that looks more than the portrait mode. So definitely recommend everyone to try that. Everyone I have told that to, and I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that zooming thing because that is a photography trick. Even with using a camera, which we'll get back to, I zoom in on a camera for everything. So that's why I do it in the mobile phones, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So back to the camera
recommendation.
So I don't have the exact model number. I will get it once we leave. I tried looking on Amazon. I just got hit with like so many ads. I was like, I don't want to just like pull one random. But I recommend, there are Sony cameras. So I would recommend getting a mirrorless camera. The difference between a mirrorless and a DSLR is that in normal cameras, DSLRs, they have a mirror that whenever you take a picture, you know, it either flips or it has a shutter that kind of flips like that. And a mirrorless camera doesn't have that. So a mirror is going to reflect your image into the sensor. Whereas a mirrorless camera doesn't have a mirror. Your sensor is right set in front of where your lens is. And I know that probably makes no sense to anyone who doesn't know camera stuff. But the easy speak of what makes a mirrorless camera so well is normally in a normal DSLR, if you go to take a picture with it, you see real life. So you look through the viewfinder and you see what real life looks like. So you take a picture and then you look at it and you're like, oh my God, everything's all blown out and white. It looks bad. The color's wrong. So you have to adjust your settings, take another picture. A mirrorless actually doesn't show you real life. Even in the little viewfinder, it shows you a digital screen of what your photo is going to look like. So before you even take your photo, you know what it's going to look like. So you can look through it and be like, this is overexposed. Let me dial this down. This is too dark. Let me brighten this up. So if you struggle with like, I don't know what to do with ISO and f-stop and shutter speed and stuff, this is a massive help that you can already adjust those things before you even take a photo. Because I would imagine one of the most difficult things is, you know, getting a setup and you finally like your setup for your product. And then you're taking pictures and it just looks bad and you keep trying and it just keeps the settings look weird. And then you give up, put the camera down and grab a phone and just take it. And you're like, this is good enough. And nobody wants to feel like that. So getting a mirror
all the time. And then
getting a mirror like totally fixes that.
Yeah.
Mirrorlesses are also just the future of what cameras are. I think they came out probably in like 2016 and they have just progressed so far. Something as simple as mirrorless can take better photos in the dark. They can also take better photos in the brightness. Their dynamic range, which is just light and dark, is phenomenal. But what's so nice about the Sony mirrorless cameras, and I am a Canon fan person, but what I do recommend about Sony is that Sony uses what is called an E-mount. So cameras mounts are what you put your lens to, which is a whole nother thing. You want to get a camera that you can actually take the lens off and switch it, because not all lenses are created equal, and lenses can be the biggest deal breaker of why your photos don't look good. With all of my patrons, one of the things that I offer is for me to review their photos, or for me to do like a live stream where we talk about everything and they show me their photos and we talk about their gear, and I kind of break down, you know, what is holding them back, what are the things they can improve in, what is the gear they need to work on getting. And with lenses, so we're going to talk about like aperture and f-stop, and I'll try to not get like too science-based on it because I am a absolute like camera nerd. But with the blurry of the background, the bokeh, that comes from aperture. The lower the number of aperture, the least is in focus, which that means that just your product will be in focus and everything else will be blurry. That is the staple that everyone wants. You almost don't need to worry about anything else. That is like the go-to.
Right.
I want a professional look. I want my product in focus. I want everything else lightly blurry. It just has such a staple. But the higher the f-stop, the more that's in focus, and then you don't get that blurry background. So if you are shooting something that you don't want a blurry background, then you can use a higher f-stop. Now, why that matters is because some lenses by default, they cannot get a lower f-stop.
Yeah.
So if you get like almost any normal camera kit, it typically comes with like a 18 to 55 millimeter lens, which that's fine. The problem with it is that the f-stop, I'm pretty sure, only goes to 3.5 at the lowest.
Right.
And what it actually says is that it has a variable f-stop, which is, it says 3.5 to 5.5, and then it can go up to 22. And it's probably like, I don't know what any of those numbers mean. So this is the problem with that. It can only be 3.5, which 3.5 already isn't that low. The lowest f-stop you can go is 1.2. And that is a extremely bokeh look. My favorite one to do is about like 2.0 or 2.8. I typically stay around that. So even already starting at 3.5 is even starting at 3.5 is already a little bit on the higher end. But the issue is those cameras will only be 3.5 at 18 millimeters, which, as I said earlier, you should almost always zoom in. You should always zoom in, probably at least to like about 50 millimeters, which human eyesight is 50 millimeters. So if you are someone who is struggling with like not understanding how much zoom should you have, 50 millimeters is a staple for the product for any photography community. It's also just human eye. So you know the camera is going to, or the photo is going to look identical to what you can see. So if you like your setup and you do 50 millimeters, it's going to look good. If you do 18, then as I was speaking about earlier, when you zoom in, it's going to condense that stuff together. Well, when you have a more zoomed out, what 18 millimeters is, it's going to pull them far apart, which is going to make your photos look really weird. It'll make your product look really small. It'll make your product look really distant from the background. It'll just kind of feel something like that. That is like a huge mistake I see people make, is the not zooming in. But the problem with these default lens that these cameras come with is that 18 millimeters is the only one that'll have 3.5. As soon as you start to zoom it in, it'll automatically switch to 5.5. And then at that point, you are absolutely not getting any blurry look. Right. So back to camera recommendations. The reason I recommend Sony mirrorless cameras is because they have something that's called an E-mount. And what that means is you can start with that camera and you can even start with that lens. And then once you save up more money, you can purchase a new lens. You could purchase a 50 millimeter 1.8 lens. You don't have to shoot at 1.8. You could shoot at 2.8. You could shoot at 22. It's just having the option to be that low. And what's nice about doing, I think Sony has a lot of cameras that are between the price of like $600 to $1,000, that they have that E-mount on them. And why I keep talking about the E-mount is that is the same mount that professional Sony cameras have. So if you start out with like a beginner $600 camera, and then, a few years go by and you really like photography, you're getting really good, and you're just like, hey, I want that brand new $4,000 Sony camera.
Yeah.
There is no worse feeling in the world than getting a cheap camera and investing hundreds and thousands of dollars in lenses, and then finally being ready to get a professional camera and realizing that all of your lenses won't work. That is a terrible, terrible feeling, which I think Canon is working on fixing, but Canon does have a different type of lens mount for their cheaper cameras than their professional cameras.
Right.
So Sony does not. Sony, if you get that $600 camera, and you could get a $600 camera, and then you could immediately get that nicer lens, and you will stay using that lens forever. Even when you do get a more expensive camera, that lens is the most important part. And that's something else that the most important thing you can get, it actually isn't a camera, it's a lens.
I hear
Yeah,
him talk about it all the time.
I was gonna say, and brace yourself, because that 50 millimeter 1.2,
Yeah.
that especially if you have that $600 camera, your lens is gonna be more expensive than your camera.
He talks about that all the time. He'll see someone with a camera and he'll be like, yeah, so that camera's like $1,000. That lens is like $5,000.
But that lens,
right? Yeah. It really is. That's why it's so important when you are investing in camera gear. You want to get stuff that's going to last a while, whereas the lens is the most important part. More than anything else, the two things that matter most to me is lighting and lens. If I do not have those two things, I would struggle very hard in doing what I do. And something as simple just like that. The fact that, like, yes, I think, and what's also nice is with Sony, you can get a Sony camera body, and then you can actually, instead of getting a Sony lens, you can get what's called a Sigma Art lens, and they are much cheaper, but they are the same quality. A lot of people, me included, actually prefer the way Sigma lenses look opposed to Sony lenses. I think that for my Sony that I have over here, I have a 24-70 Sigma Art lens on it, and I think that lens was around maybe $1,400. If I got the Sony version, it probably would have been like $2,500. But absolutely look into mirrorless cameras, look into the Sony mirrorless cameras, and also look into those lenses. You also want to look at something that says like a full frame camera. It does make a huge difference. I'm sure that everybody can relate to taking a photo and then you're looking at editing it and you wish you had more room. A full frame will automatically give that to you. The other thing of understanding why should you get a camera instead of using your phone. And it really comes down to those three settings of f-stop, which is aperture, ISO, and your shutter speed. That is something that even with using the apps that help us with our phone is not an actual real camera. So it can kind of mimic it a little bit, but you will not get the same type of quality that an actual camera can do.
Right.
So understanding those things. And all of these cameras do have like automatic mode. But I do recommend you try to immediately get off that and immediately mess with the settings. And it will become second nature. I don't know if anyone here has ever driven like a manual car, but I remember when I first got a manual car, I was very shocked. Like, how am I going to just always constantly be thinking about switching the gears and stuff? And it becomes second nature. And it is the same thing with product photography, or not product photography, just using a camera in general. You will just naturally, to the point that I can look at any scene and tell you what your camera settings should be. I have people send me pictures of their scene where they're taking pictures and be like, hey, what should my camera settings be? I was like, oh, you should have your f-stop to this, your ISO to this, and your shutter speed to this. They do it and they're like, how did you figure that out? You're not even here. And it's like, I've been doing this for a long time, so I can look at like the lighting of a scene and kind of get an idea of what stuff should be. But definitely recommend that. The camera will make a huge difference.
We just need you to come over then.
Yeah, just you want to live in Florida?
I actually do. So I'm in Maryland, and I have been thinking about moving. And the places I was thinking was like Texas or Florida. I live in the East Coast, so I can't not be next to the beach. I need to be near water, but I'm 3 hours away from water right now. And I've shot a lot of weddings in Florida, and by far my favorite place I've ever visited for weddings, shockingly, was Florida. So I am absolutely like considering moving to Florida. I also have a lot of clients there. So there's a lot of things lining up that like could be in Florida in the next year or two.
Yeah, what parts of Florida?
Probably near like Clearwater or probably anywhere kind of in like that like northern middle part of Florida. Though that's the spot that I went to. What was the area called?
Sebastian.
I think it was Jacksonville. It was around that.
Oh, don't go to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It was outside of Jacksonville. What was it called? It was this little island off of like, so I think like Jacksonville was maybe an hour or two to the east.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clearwater Beach was also about like an hour and a half north. So I was like down to the side, and it was this like little island that everyone said was just this like really, really just like nice place, and everyone there was like so friendly. It was such a cute place. I wish I knew the name of the place.
It's better than
I'll have to look it up and let you know. But I'm totally just like looking into Florida in general.
Yeah.
And I mean, we really
I'm
like our
biased.
new. Yeah,
I'm biased.
he's Florida native.
I'm a Floridian,
So yeah, but you were South Florida, and now you've been converted to.
Yeah, I've
more
always,
central.
but I've always known, northern, like Orlando area and this and that. But yeah, I've always
What
known
part of Florida are you guys in?
So we're in. We moved from South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area. We were there for 5 years. Yeah, about 5 years, and now
we're in
we're
Eastern
more like
Central.
Yeah.
So it's called the Treasure Coast.
Yeah.
Treasure Coast
About
area.
45 minutes from Melbourne.
Yep.
Near Vero Beach. What else?
That actually might be what I was talking about. All of those names sound very familiar.
An hour south of Orlando.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just, for us, it's been great because it's just that, like, it's definitely like small town feel. People are a lot nicer. They're not in a hurry as much. There's not as much crime. Like, it's just it's night and day, for us up here. Like,
but it's Florida, so
it is Florida.
It's not for everyone.
There's still very Florida things that happen. Yep.
Florida man.
Come visit and do an in-person photo class for me.
I would absolutely like to know. That's actually something I'm starting to offer in next year. And funny enough, one of the people that there's a very high chance that I absolutely am flying out to a whole photo shoot for actually is Monarch Pine, which I believe she is in Alabama. So I'm very excited because I already did destination weddings. I already traveled all over the U.S. for weddings, but it is going to be really fun to travel all over the U.S. again, but for products. So just kind of hang out with someone for like 8 hours, just shoot all of their products for them.
Yeah.
I think Monarch Pine has like well over 1,000. So it's going to be really fun traveling and also getting to try different types of cuisine and stuff like that. I'm very excited to visit like Louisiana.
Yeah. Nice. Is there any, Missa, do you have any other, like, what are some things that you make sure to do, at least like with your photos, or, what are some tips that you have for people as, like, the phone girl? Because I mean, you take some really great photos.
Probably not going to change. Yeah. Right. Like if it's not broken.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have kind of some of my go-to arrangements. It really depends on how busy I am and fault to something.
Yep. Your go-tos. Yeah.
My go-tos, right? If I just need to get it done. I know it'll look good. It's not thematic. It'll just be neutral, whatever. I mean, lighting is a big, like, understanding lighting and how it's playing a role, especially in winter too. I know I'm eyeing Jess's light.
Yeah, I think John is too.
I need, right? Because the light is so blue here in Washington in the winter time. So I think understanding where the best light is coming into your house if you're going to use natural light. So I use a dining room window most often, but because I don't have any other light source, I'm pretty limited to a certain time of day. It was really the other day I had my replica studio by the window and it was so blue because it's winter, the sun's in a different place, the light is cooler. So then I ran to the front door, that looked same blue, and I so then I ran out to the back patio, and then it was just it was a race because the sun was moving so fast. I saw the progression. And so that put me in a little bit of a pickle, and really, no pun intended, put a light on how I need to master artificial light, because that's something I have a goal for too. But yeah, I think understanding your light, and Jess has said many times in her YouTube videos and her Patreon too, like having it as a like 90-degree angle to your product. You know, not front and center, to not flatten it out. I definitely agree with that. My studio faces me, and my light, just like Jess is set up in the back here, my light comes in from the side so that you do have shadows. You know, I default toward kind of more filtered light versus direct. Because again, it's fast for me. There's so many other aspects to my business, right? My business is product photography, but my items wouldn't sell if I didn't do good enough, right? Because as soon as it gets a little funny looking, people don't go like, oh, that's funny looking because your light is too blue. They just automatically like there's something wrong here, and they keep going.
Their brain does all that in the background. They don't even know that their brain is like processing that. They just like something tells them keep scrolling or not buy that file. When they have they don't think like, oh, if she just had better lighting, like this could be great, or I can make this great with like better lighting. I mean, I realized that early on when I prefer acrylic work, that I realized I kind of need to find someone who wants to make my files in wood, because a lot of people, and some people can, but a lot of people will see like the acrylic item and they say, oh, well, I work with wood, and like keep going. They don't realize that like, oh, I can make that in a couple things and it will still, you know, look good. And so like, you have
make
to
both.
Exactly.
Right. Side by side.
Yeah.
And to go back with what Missa was saying about lighting, because as much as, you know, I was talking about cameras today, I do generally think there are two sides of, you know, product photography. You can there are a lot of people that are extremely successful makers that are making a crazy amount of money and they do not own cameras. Which it comes into what is the most important parts of product photography that makes a good product photo. And I would say the number one thing is lighting. Absolutely. If you were to invest in one thing, it would be lighting, because something as simple of what Miss is talking about, all of the struggle of just like, you know, summer light is more warm, winter light is more cool. And what that means is summer light is always going to be a little bit more orange. Your whites will naturally be more orange, which that means more editing work for you. Or in the winter, your light is going to be limited. You will have a much shorter window to shoot. You will have to shoot like only within a couple hours of the day. And if you have a family or you have a second business or you're busy making stuff, you don't have time to revolve your whole day around the light. But I mean, with that, the winter is going to be this blue light. So once again, you're going to have to edit it. Also finding what windows. So something that Missa was saying and something that I have with my light here, I always shoot with my light directly to the side, whether it's to the left or to the right. I always have my light to the side. And I recommend that with windows. The problem with windows is understanding if it's a direct light or an indirect light. And what that means is the sun directly hitting it? Because if the sun is directly hitting it, then you're going to get weird light flares. You're going to get weird harsh shadows, which can look cool for certain photos, but majority of people don't want to have that look. It's almost like an aesthetic look. You have to choose to want it. Whereas indirect light, where the sun is not going to hit that window, is going to give you softer shadows. But by having that indirect lighting, once again, it's going to be even more blue. So there's so much editing work. There's so many just like issues you run into trying to use that. That I would say getting a actual artificial light and learning how to use that. I would prioritize that before even getting a camera and trying to master that. And you will notice a huge difference. And then second, I would say the second most important thing for product photography is actually understanding styling and understanding what makes a scene look good, and also having some go-tos. So just like Missa, I have my own go-tos. About 2 times a month, I shoot entire collections for Replica, because Replica releases new surfaces at least once, sometimes twice a month. So I am in charge of shooting all of those photos. And with doing that, sorry, my dog just walked in and totally just distracted me.
Yeah, I am like the
I
crazy
knew what
cat
happened.
lady right now.
But I love the one who's on. Is that like your
I
chair?
know.
Yeah.
But like it also many times looked like his like paw was like on your shoulder, but it was just
It
how
was so cute.
He would have
it's like
I
a
was-
cute little ornament.
I was just hoping.
like this is the mother of that one.
Oh,
I was just hoping more and more
Really?
cats would
would
show up.
just show up.
So
I
that
know,
every,
me too.
Too, but I
By
feel
the
like
end of it, there would just be cats
so that
everywhere.
every time I come back to Misa when she
It's just
says something,
another
it's
cat.
another cat and another cat.
Can you please add some artificial cats in
might,
the
like
editing?
need to like edit in some meow sounds.
You guys hear that?
Oh, I
Crazy
love it.
cat lady.
But when I'm shooting so many photos, it's very easy to just almost, almost like run out of ideas or
Yeah.
just like, hit a creative wall block.
Yep.
Whereas when I'm doing my replica photos, I have such a different type of shoot than if I'm shooting for a client. If I'm shooting for a candle business, I'm trying to sell that candle. But if I'm shooting for replica surfaces, I'm trying to sell the background, which means I need to inspire people of how to use this background and what they can come up with, which means that I
Right.
need to constantly have new creative ideas and constantly push my own limits to help
Right.
people out, which is great because it just constantly keeps me on my toes and keeps me improving. But I will still have these staple go-tos that something as simple as doing like a diagonal styling, which
Mhm.
works for both flat lay or for eye level photos. Using a C where you make that C shape with the styling towel or anything else. Just having a couple go-tos that you can always rely on make a huge difference. So lighting, highly recommend looking into lighting solutions, especially having some type of diffuser. Like I have a studio box here. Replica surfaces actually make something called a replica glass that actually diffuses light. So if you are using, and I actually have, there's a video on their YouTube channel where I actually do a photo shoot at my window where I have direct light and you can see the light shining in. It has the glares. There's awkward harsh shadows. It looks really bad. And then I add this replica glass and it immediately smooths that out, which that is a fantastic piece of gear. I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
That is something I absolutely
so glad.
recommend for people who use natural light. Though I use it myself for artificial light just because
I
it
was just
helps
gonna
me
ask you.
even more. But try to master lighting. Even if you are using natural light, then understand, when is your time to shoot. So something as simple of if you have a window that you prioritize using, have something set up there and then take a picture every hour and see how the sun changes, how the lighting changes. So you can find like, okay, at 3 p.m. in November is my best time to shoot. Especially you will almost want to change it every month when we're switching from like fall to winter back to spring because the sun is changing. But that now I disappeared for a second. I think I'm back though.
You're back.
You're good for us.
Everyone just like vanished for a second. It was just like spinning wheels. I was by myself. But definitely look with lighting. Practice a lot of styling. I love using Pinterest and just like looking at what other people are doing on Pinterest.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of accounts on Instagram and I see what they're doing. Something that I tell people get very weird almost about like competition. And you shouldn't look at anybody as competition. If anything, they should be inspiring you. You could see what they do and be like, oh, I love how they styled this. And then kind of break down your head. What did they do that I like so much about it? Do I like that they don't have a dark background, but they added a lot of dark elements and that looks really cool. You can try doing that with your own photos.
Right.
So,
yeah, I tried to do that with Missa's. I was like, wait, okay, so she does this with her towel all the time.
Right.
I'm gonna try. And like, it was what I kept adding like the new thing, like the better lighting. And then I got the surfaces and then I got the stand and then I got some good like photo props and like finding good photo props is really hard too as well. And then I get all those things and then I take the pictures and then I would still hate the pictures. And I'm like, I have all the tools, but I don't have like the skills yet, you know, because it just took time to like figure out like where I need to place those nice photo props that I got on my nice stand with my nice backdrops and like making it like all come together. But yeah, looking at photos and then picking apart the photo and figuring out what is it that I like about that photo. And something I want to learn, which it's hard for me, it's down the road, but I really like those, like the photos that have the cool shadows. Like I know Replica Surfaces has like kind of those shadow surfaces that have like the cutouts of the windows and stuff, but that's like a whole nother level for me, because like half the time I'm trying to get rid of the shadows or soften the shadows, but I like the ones that almost like spotlight, but like spotlight nicely, you know?
Right. And that is another thing that I recommend so much with having an artificial light, is that I have a softbox on my light right now. But if I was to just take that softbox off, I have a powerful direct light that I can get any type of shadows I want. And I have a few videos on specifically different ways you can create shadows with that. And like one of my favorite things is to use plants to make like shadows with plants and stuff. I am a huge lover of shadows. I absolutely love adding shadows into scenes. I think that shadows are a fantastic prop, especially depending on what you're shooting. You can like really get creative with stuff like that. And something like that is such a great goal, is looking at like, you know, I'm happy with where I am. What do I want to improve? And what is something that almost feels out of reach? Like, you know, that seems like really advanced. I don't know if I want to do that. You absolutely can. I will totally send you my video on how to do the shadow stuff, because once you watch it and you see how to do it and you realize like, wow, this is actually really easy and really fun, you'll realize you're intimidated for no reason other than just like, our own internal, just like voices. And then you will totally love it and you will just be addicted. And something between, you know, having harsh shadows and soft shadows is a brand identity, that you might start doing hard shadows and then realize, wow, I always like that. And that's something that can carry over to having all these different collections, that even when you're doing Christmas stuff, you still have harsh shadows, but instead of them being, you know, like maybe in the fall or for Halloween, you have like spooky tree branches as the shadows. And then when Christmas comes, you have, you know, Christmas pine trees shadows.
Something
like that makes a huge difference.
See, that's all it takes, is really just finding in the laser community, if like you see someone's products or photos or whatever, and you see that they're doing it well, reach out to them and get the tips from them. And it really just takes that person, you know, spending the time to like break it down for you and like how they did it, or finding that video on YouTube that shows you like, oh, put this here, do this. And it's like, oh, okay. Like you don't know what you don't know again. So like you find someone who does know it, and then, you know,
I've been researching. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of people, like just people or things. It's usually I've seen a lot of like sports action shots where the entire background is black.
Yes, I love, obviously,
but it's not a backdrop,
right?
It's just like void of anything, and it's just like them and like a color. So I've been watching videos on how it's done, just for no other reason than just wanting to know how they can make that happen.
I've seen that a lot with those like really cool like sports.
The action shots. Where like a pop of color, or they got like basketball,
or the fire, the basketball and then fire you see thing.
You see them, that one object, whether it be fire, the ball, whatever, and then it's just void of anything else in the background.
So cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So I've been wondering like, how do they do that? And I've been like researching it. And because when you see the behind the scenes, you see that they're not in like a complete dark, like they're on a basketball court or they're in a field. It's like, well, how do you achieve that blackness, like that void of background when there's clearly a background? So that's what interesting.
Every problem is solvable. It just makes me think too, like oftentimes our prejudgment is that like we're the problem, right? Like I'm the problem. My lack of whatever is the problem. But it's generally just lack of the knowledge yet. That's we just need to let that part go and just try to take in and learn as much as we can, and we can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
What I always do is I'll like do the whole like photo setup. I'll do all the things, like even with the stand, like if I'm like, if it's not like the perfect angle, my back will hurt like really, really quickly because I'm trying to like get in like that right position. And then I'm like hot. I'm always like hot, you know, because I'm moving around and doing all these things and I'm adding all this pressure to me. And then I have to like either take a break or I'm take a break because my back, or I'm over it. And then I'll send like the pictures to like a couple friends to like get some feedback. And then they're like, oh, well, just do this and like move it over here. And it's like, no, I'm over it. I'm done. Feedback. I'll try and remember that for next time. But like, I don't want to, I just took 100 of them and I don't want to, I need to like take that photo, leave it all there, then ask for feedback instead of, again, I'm an all or nothing. I take 20 pictures, send them, bombard Missa while she's dealing with her own life and issues. And I'm like, help me make these.
Well, and then one problem, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to is, and Missa, you touched on as to why you use your phone, because you are running a business.
Yeah.
So, and your business isn't product photography. So it's like, you know, you take your pictures.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't happen again for months, maybe weeks, maybe whatever, you know, whatever your schedule is like, but you don't do it enough to lock down a system or to get a real understanding of what you're doing. It's like, I have 10 minutes to take these pictures because I need to post this, because I need to sell it so I can make money.
Then
so
I need to go pick up the fucking kids.
So I can buy the camera that I want for the product pictures. But then I have to make time. Now I have to make more money because I bought this camera. And so it's this endless loop
cycle
of things. So it's easy to say that, you know, just take pictures and play with it, but it's the you don't have time to. So a good thing to do is, and this was with the natural light as opposed to artificial light, is you lock down your settings with your light.
Yeah.
And then as long as your product is, because again, you know, a white product as opposed to a shiny silver one is gonna act different to your lighting. But now you just tweak that one thing when you're going to go take a picture. Until you find time to begin to like, okay, I got these settings locked down. Yeah. So I know I can take a good product picture. Oh, you know what? That just saved me 15 minutes. Right. Now let me play. Because you already got your one. Yeah. You got your one. That's like, it's like me when I used to work in news. You know, and everyone does these like fancy, like, oh, through the window shot. And I'm like, listen, this is news. It's nuts and bolts. I would show up to a scene and I would get my shots. Yeah. I just got to tell the story, nitty gritty, whatever. Now, if I got time after, I'm gonna get you that. You know, I'm gonna play with foreground. I'm gonna put this.
Get some creative shots.
I'm gonna get, but I need to get these down because that cop, that police tape ain't gonna be there. So if I get that shot of that police tape, I'm missing what's going on. Yeah. So you nail down your settings. You get that one product shot that's really good enough to sell, and then play.
Right. Well, so at our old house, I had nailed down the outside natural light photography for that time of the year. I didn't realize it until that time of the year was gone. So I typically, especially then, did a lot of my work late at night, which was kind of annoying because if it needed to go out the next day, I needed to have time to take the picture to then have time to mail it out. But it was when the sun was back here at a certain time, I had on our porch, we had like a bush that was great for my little greenery in the background. And I had no harsh shadows because it was indirect and, it was great. And then the sun changed and the sun was like beating on like my item and I couldn't find the right time to take it like with the shadows.
Damn, daylight savings time.
Right. and then I'd finish all the time. I'd finish a product and I'd want to like really finish it by taking my pictures of it, but it's midnight or 2 a.m. or 9 p.m. and I have to wait until the next day. And then it just like draws everything on. And I'm like, I need to figure out how to not have to really worry about natural light at all. I need to perfect the artificial so that I can take it whenever,
Right. And then all of these are such a massive reason as to why I recommend artificial light so much, just because something as simple as, if I have a client and they say like, oh, can you like, and I already have products of theirs, and they're like, oh, if I purchase this from you, can you any chance like shoot this today? Because I have like some opportunity that I really want to post this. I don't ever have to worry about well, let me go set up my stuff. Let me go set up my lighting. Let me see how the sun looks.
Is it gloomy?
My light never changes. My light, and to that same degree, because I also use a camera, my settings never change. So whenever I need to take a photo, I don't touch the settings on my camera or the settings on my light, because I have that consistent lighting. The only time it changes is if I want to have harsh shadows. So that is a huge thing with lighting. Something as simple as just like, I think what is the number one thing that all business owners wish we had, and it's more time. There is not enough time in the day to run a business. And if you are not a product photographer, product photography is probably only 10% of what you do. You don't have time to do everything. You need to just be as efficient as possible. And having that artificial light will make a drastic difference in whenever you want to go shoot, even if it's the middle of the night. With something like me, like I'm a creative person, I thrive in the middle of the night. I am unfortunately the type of person who is up at all hours. So I can do photo shoots at like 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and they look fantastic. And other people wouldn't be able to. If you get too busy, caught up in life, and then you lost that sun, you got to wait till the next day. So I definitely recommend looking with lights, and specifically getting a light that says it has 5600 Kelvin, which that is the cleanest white. That is like daylight. That'll give you just the most pure white looking in all of products and just all of your settings.
So many types of whites, and like, we have a new just regular like light to light up our workshop, not for photos or anything, but it has like 4 or 5 different settings of white. And it's so funny because like I prefer cool white, not warm white. And so I turn it on, and like I turn it on and then I hit it 4 more times to get to the cool. I wish it would just turn on to cool. Like, come on, we know I like this one. But I have to turn it. But yeah, you don't realize until like Christmas lights or lighting for your product photography that there's 20 different colors of white light.
There's a lot of different types of. There's a lot of different types of like white light.
Yeah. Just think of when you're watching your favorite like reality show when they go from outside to inside.
Oh. Yeah.
With the same camera, like when they walk in with the person, you're like, whoa, or you'll see that shock, that quick change, because they have 2 different settings on their camera, one for inside and one for outside. But there's always that change in the doorway when you're making that move. You'll see it,
right? Because
they have to make that change in order for it to look the same all the way through. Kind of, because there's that change,
right?
Hey, I got to interrupt for a second. I'm starting to run out of time.
Okay, yeah.
But no problem. Expecting us to go this long,
right?
I know.
We can talk about photography all the time.
Like all the time.
So,
I have another meeting in like 10 minutes, and I have to.
Okay,
perfect. So, where can people find you real quick, just to get that out of the way?
Yes, and the codes.
So
you only share one.
Yes. Which
remember it? The one for everybody.
The general.
The smaller one.
Everybody. So
we tease the bigger one, and
So you can find my artfully photographed files at bymissa.net, BYMISSA.net, and the code for everybody is RB for Riley Black 15. So you get a little discount. Though there's also probably a Black Friday sale happening now.
Well, I mean, so depending on what the expiration date of the general one, if you've, take advantage of the Black Friday sale or whatever she has going on, then especially if it's bigger, and then you default to the other one if there's a couple things that you didn't realize.
Or if you're late.
If you're late, or because I mean, people listen to this all like at any point during like a month or 2 or even some.
If you're not
years.
a Patreon, you're listening to this on Cyber Monday.
Exactly. You've already missed it.
So how about this? All of December. So
perfect.
Yourself, Merry Christmas to you.
Yes. Well, and speaking of replica surfaces, so you have an affiliate link, and I think the easiest way to just direct them there is in your Facebook group. That's where I always get it. If I'm going to go purchase something, I'm like, oh wait, hold on, because like I'll get their email, and then I'll just like click from their email. And then if I think about it, I'm like, no, wait. Let me go click on Missa's affiliate link and then purchase it. So with Replica, you can go to Missa's group, which what is it? Laser Designs by Missa, right?
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
So go to her Facebook group, find her affiliate link. You usually have it like pinned, right? In the featured. Yeah. And then
totally. And it's just it's / by Missa at the end of the Replica.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, and then you can take advantage of Replica Surfaces Black Friday deals, which are I think they're already live. So
yeah, Black Friday, and then they're doing a little extra thing for Cyber Monday too.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's probably one of the best times of the year to grab some Surfaces.
Yeah.
One of their bigger.
Especially
Right, you can grab the Surfaces, or if you wanted to grab like the Replica Studio, or I think the Replica glasses still then.
Last year during Black Fridays when I got my yeah, you did. Well, we'll let you go so that you're not like, you have some breathing room in between one meeting. And then we'll finish up with Jess. But Missa, thank you so much.
Yes.
One for like, coordinating this. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be annoying in Jess's inbox from now on.
Nothing annoys me. I'm impossible to annoy.
That's the best.
You say that now.
Up at midnight, so it'll be perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Missa all the time is like, why are you awake? Well, she's, on the West Coast. And so it's much earlier there. So she knows it's a lot later here. And she's like, go to bed. I'm like, okay, I'm going. Thank you again, Missa.
Yeah,
we'll
thanks,
talk
Missa.
to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Good seeing you again.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye.
So Jess, tell us your stuff. Like, where can people find like your, helpful videos, your Patreon, all that. Tell us all the good stuff.
So all of my stuff is product photo class. So on Instagram, product photo class, on YouTube, product photo class, on TikTok, product photo class, and my YouTube and even my Patreon are product photo class. So if you go to like patreon.com/product photo class, that is where I do all of my teaching videos. I go from everything into mastering artificial light, using natural light, how to create hard shadows, how to create soft shadows, how to use phone, how to use cameras, camera settings. And then I go really into detail about styling because that is such like an important thing, and having like multiple different types of like setups you can have. I try to touch base on different things. So I've done a few different videos on laser engraved items. I'll also do stuff on like earrings or like specific things.
Have
so
you
you
ever
can find me everything in product photo class.
Sorry, I just had a random thought. One thing that's also difficult to photograph is acrylic items.
So Missa, I know, is actually working on mailing me some stuff because how to shoot like reflective items, specifically how to shoot laser engraved acrylics, is something that I've gotten a lot of messages for, and I don't have any acrylic stuff. I have a lot of like reflective stuff, like I have a lot of like candles that are like super reflective.
Right. Yeah.
But there is a difference. So it's the same thing as just like, when you're talking about if you see like a file and it's only an example of wood and you're like, well, I only do acrylic, so like I don't care for this, I'm just trying to find an acrylic version. It's the same thing as even if I teach someone how to deal with reflections on a candle, I want to show people how to deal with reflections on jewelry, how to do reflections on acrylic laser engraved items. So I know she is working on getting me some stuff like that. So that is absolutely going to be a video that'll be coming out in the next couple like weeks, possibly month. But absolutely.
Yeah. So back to your stuff. Did you plug all of your things?
Yeah, I think all of my things are Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, TikTok, and I think that's all of them. My website is productphotoclass.com.
Okay, great.
So if you go to productphotoclass.com, you can find everything. I am extremely active on Instagram. The main thing of all of my teaching is on Patreon, though I don't bar my Patreon with like teaching stuff. So I have a lot of free content I put on my YouTube, or I also put on my Instagram. Patreon just goes a little bit more depth and everything. And with my Patreon, I have it starting at the current moment. $5 unlocks access to all of my teaching videos.
Nice.
I have a tier that's $30 that is a live masterclass, but I think I'm actually going to get rid of that and do something different for it. Once you start going to like $50 or $100, then you actually mail me items every month, and I shoot items every month for you. Some of those items end up being used in replica photos or end up being used in Patreon videos, because I thought that was a really cool thing of, if you are struggling with learning how to shoot something, then not only are you paying to have me shoot an item for you, but I also make a video about how and why I shot the way I did to help you do that.
Yeah.
So product photo class, you can find me with anything.
Cool. And then you were going to do some discount codes as well. I don't think you've set them up yet, but so we'll do like maybe Riley Black and then whatever, percentage you want to do. And then
so I'm going to do
what? Yeah.
So I will do probably something special for Black Friday. So anybody who is a patron of yours will get the special access to that. Okay. Though I'm going to do a different Black Friday, or I'm going to do a different code for your Patreon members, whereas the Black Friday code is only going to be on Black Friday. For your Patreon members, I'm actually going to have a special Black Friday code for them that'll actually give them access to the rest of the month.
Nice.
That way, if they want to work on getting, stuff from replica surfaces or stuff from other places, they don't have to like also worry about other things. Right. They have all month to work on that. The only thing is Patreon doesn't let me, at least I don't think, they let me offer a discount, but even then it's the entry thing is like $5. Patreon doesn't let me offer a discount, I think, for Black Friday.
I don't think they do either. I was wondering. I'm
actually new to Patreon. That I only started it probably in like February. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's great.
So nice. Yeah. But if any of your viewers want to book me for product photography, then they can get a very large discount for the rest of the month if they're a Patreon member of yours. Right. And for everyone else, then I'm going to give you guys a discount code for 15% off. Okay. That'll also be activated for the rest of the month.
Okay, cool.
People just get a little bit bonused.
Yeah, so they can just message us, or if I know it by then, I'll include it in the post that I do.
Great time to join our Patreon.
Join our Patreon, join hers, join.
This will pay for itself,
right? Yeah, I mean, just with the Black Friday deals, and I mean, a lot of the recent guests, because we're so close to the end of the year. Lauren, is it Lauren or Laura? Lauren Malika.
Yes.
Yeah. Lauren. She did hers through December as well. So if you sign up now, you get all those codes discounts that are still good through, through the end of the year. So do it.
It's worth it.
Do it now.
Yeah. Well, just thanks for your time and
so much information. It was so good.
I could talk to you forever.
Right.
This is we'll have to do it again. And next time I'll have to actually switch my camera into a live feed of my actual camera, and I'll actually do a styling.
You won't have to do that because you'll be here in the studio.
I can also give you guys one of my videos if you wanted to like include that in your footage. Almost like a little example of like, how my teaching is, or just something like that. I have some like some basic videos, but I absolutely will probably be coming down to Florida so that we can all meet and do some photos in person, because
that would be so fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Fun.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. Well, you stay right there, and you stay right there too, because we'll be right back with our life update. And we're back. I could talk about cameras and photography and everything.
Jess and Missa really easy to talk to, and hopefully it was informational, and
I think it was. I think there was a lot of good stuff there.
I'm literally gonna send her like all of my things, because just scrolling through her Instagram, there were so many of like the dark and moody and the black photos and stuff that she has taken that I'm like, yep, that.
Right. And
take that photo with my keychain thingies.
And in all seriousness, I know we jokingly push about patrons and our savings and everything, but this is one of those savings that like it's gonna go far,
Right.
It's almost a little bit more than blanks and stuff, because you get if you take that that master class that she has on her Patreon, like that can give you a lot of information. And off camera she was saying a lot of people sign up for it get all the knowledge, and then thanks and whatever. And that's kind of what she has it for,
right?
To not to keep you on
right
forever, but for you to get all the information you need,
help you in the meantime,
right? And then go. She's all about helping people,
helping and teaching you in the meantime. I'm gonna help you out. Here's how to, here I'm gonna take this photo for you, but I'm also gonna tell you how I took that photo
and why I did what I did.
Right.
Yeah, and definitely I was scrolling after we ended with them, and I was scrolling through her Instagram, and the pictures are amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like great ideas.
Yes.
For like what to do, even using the replica surfaces.
Yeah.
Going through her Instagram, I was seeing because we use it one way, like how basically how you would do it without any background knowledge, although I have a little bit with video and it kind of translates. But the things she was doing as far as like how she was adding things and how she was talking about putting stuff in the 3 corners and stuff, like if you go to her Instagram, you'll see what she's talking about, and it's so it makes. And then just backing out a little bit, there was a few things that she had that were like food, and then she puts it like on a cutting board with a knife,
right,
backed up a little bit, and it's a little rustic around. So it's like yeah, sure, the product is there, but the picture's like this, but you're looking at this,
right. But all of that goes into what makes it
sells the product. Like it's a cooking thing, so it's on a wooden cutting board because that's what was used.
Yeah,
a knife, a nice table with a table. Yeah, so it's definitely. If you scroll through her Instagram, maybe while you're listening to this,
right,
it'll translate more what she's talking about if you can't visualize it. Yeah, but it was great.
It was.
Hope everyone had.
Yeah, at this time it's had a great Thanksgiving.
I hope we had a great Thanksgiving.
Right. We're hosting.
Yep.
A couple.
We're hosting.
Your brother's gonna come up.
And my uncle and his family.
Yep.
So, it'll be nice for us to get all get back together after my grandma passed.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So yeah. So hopefully we had a good Thanksgiving, and you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and having a great Black Friday.
Yeah. Oh, tomorrow, which will be last week, we're we're pulling the kids out of school. And we're gonna go.
In town and your sister?
Yep. My mom and my sister, we're gonna go see them. I'm gonna go to a children's museum and have them run around like crazy, and a lot of family stuff coming up. But
and then again, last week we did Thanksgiving lunch, one with JR and one with Jackson. It was fun.
Jackson is such a ham.
Yeah. And JR was having a great time with his friends at the table.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're allowed. I was telling you earlier, I'm glad that we were allowed to, they had this for the parents, post pandemic and all that stuff.
Being able to see their environment and seeing
them in their environment.
And like what's your lunchroom look like? What are you like with your friends? And like just seeing all that, because I mean, I didn't expect this as a 6-year-old. I expected it when he was like a teenager, and it was like, oh, how was your day?
You're not gonna invite him.
No, but how was your day? It was good.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I
don't know.
Yeah.
What'd you learn?
I don't know.
And it's like, you can't get anything from him. Like, I need you to paint me a picture of what you did today. And I'm like, how was it? What was the friend that you talked to? Like, and you get nothing. So going to the Thanksgiving thing and actually seeing, like, what friends does he talk to? Is he, how goofy is he with them?
His teacher came over and said he was the only one who got 100 on his math test.
Right? That's not my kid. Because he
then
math
later
is not my thing.
when I picked him up, I'm like, oh, so that test was hard? He's like, no, it was easy. And I was like, well, that's why you the only one who got 100, I guess.
Right? Yeah. He's really good. I've been impressed by
his
how
math.
Yeah, because he'll just be like, oh yeah, that's 12. And I'm like, and I'm sitting here like, that is 12. Like, okay, like, don't come to mom for help with math, because she has a finance degree, but it's not. Because
you can come to dad because you're in the first grade.
Right.
I got you now, because they don't go past 20. The 20 is the limit. I'm like, Mike, I can go 20.
Yeah.
I got 20 fingers and toes. We're good.
Yep. Yeah. So I hope you guys are all having a good holiday. Hope we are too. And
I hope sales are picking up for you guys too, because
man, it's been hit or miss. It's I'll have some really great days, and then I'll have crickets for days too.
Hopefully this is where it's ramping up for everybody,
right?
And we're all seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
enough time for it to go down again at the end of February.
You scared a cough out of me,
Right? Well, with that, it's been a great episode of the Riley Black Project. Christian John.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done.